Thank you, Apurvaji, for that amazing update in how things actually stand between India and Canada. As you can see, I'm the product of India-Canada Education Forum. I graduated from Mumbai and came to Canada in 1986-87. And since then, I've actually moved forward with my own educations. As you heard, I trained at the Queen's University in Kingston. Eventually, I went back to Toronto and did my neonatology as a super specialty in looking after the premature babies, and came here in Ottawa to do my research in lung development and brain injury in the premature babies. So now you guys wonder, what am I doing here in terms of talking to the people in the corridor of India-Canada education? But I am one of those, one of that example that the educational process in India, when we go through our schools and colleges, is an amazingly rich experience. We need to be all proud of it. When I came here, there was really no virtual system existed to actually enhance our educational process. But the basics of what we had learned in India was sufficient enough for me to actually get through all my exams, go through my entire medical sort of postgraduate training here, and eventually become the chief of neonatology at the hospital, which I've been actually for the last 25 years. So why did I get into this India-Canada corridor? Because I owe so much to India, and as well as I owe so much to Canada as my chosen country. I've never actually forgotten about my birth country, who gave me the fundamental and the basics. But at the same time, I cherish what Canada has provided me, the skill sets and incredible amount of learning and opportunity to actually work with the people across the globe. So with that, and Apurvaji, I know, I think one time I had mentioned to you when we met, it was actually High Commission, of course, in Ottawa, who was quite interested in setting up this Canada-India Center of Excellence, which I'm going to talk about. At that time, High Commissioner Gawai was a good friend of mine, and we actually talked a lot. The Deputy High Commissioner Narendra Chauhan was very interested in setting up this Canada-India Center in Ottawa. Ottawa being the seat of power, we had an access to the global affair. We had access to, of course, the High Commissioner and High Commissioner's resources. We reached out across the country to actually get the like-minded people to join in creating this Canada-India corridor and in the Center of Excellence. Education was the paramount important for me. That's why we actually created this particular center within Carleton University, because it was important for me to actually continue having an academic conversation, depth conversation in terms of actually getting the students together. Let me actually reflect back before I go on to some of the slides which I have, which I wanted to share with you. Many years ago, many years ago, this is, I think I'm going back into 2010 and 2011, Stuart Back used to be our Canadian ambassador, and he was in Delhi, and he was actually visiting Ottawa. I had an opportunity to sit down with him and discuss this potential Canada-India Center collaboration and development of the center. And Apurvaji, I know what you mentioned, people to people and business to business is so vital in terms of creating this entrepreneurship and creating this, this ecosystem where we actually develop the businesses. But when I spoke to Stuart Back, and after he had spent about 1 or 2 years, I asked him, what is the most important currency Canada has to give it to India? And his answer was, Pradeep, it's education. Education is the best currency in the world. We can share and we can develop on it. And that's why today's AGM is such a timely, that we are coming out of this pandemic, but we are talking about the educational corridor and how can we help? Because every student, and I think Madam actually spoke about 230,000 students pre-pandemic, every student becomes an ambassador from India coming to Canada. At the same time, when they finish their training, they become such an integral part of economical as well as educational development of the country we so choose to live in. First slide, Eva. Ishita or Eva, can you move the slides? Thank you. So let me briefly give you an overview of Canada-India Center of Excellence and how we have actually been able to go through this one. Next slide. So I'll go through about 5 points here, and I'll expand them as we go through. Next. The CanadaIndia Center of Excellence at Carleton University supports bilateral ties between both the countries in the areas of professional development, entrepreneurship, and a policy dialogue. As I was reflecting on it, that we established this in 2010 with the Carleton University. Carleton University has been extremely generous. We have infrastructure, we have a boardroom, we have director, we have a program manager, and we have at least 5 different employees dealing with the students and professional development programs. Our mandate is to research and training center to promote bilateral ties, while our core areas of activity is the professional development programs, short and non-academic credit granting courses, as well as academic credit granting courses in the graduate, postgraduate, as well as in a PhD program. We also have entrepreneurial development, and I'll talk about the Accelerator program, which was announced a few years ago during Prime Minister Trudeau's visit to India, as well as we have a policy research and a dialogue development through enlargement, through engagement with NIPSIA, which is our School of Policy Development. Next, Ella. This is our governing council, and I've been actually chair of the governing council for almost 10 years now, or 11 years now. But what I want to point out that my governing council members are from across the country. Barj Dahan is a good friend of mine, is from Vancouver. Laj Parashar at the bottom is from Toronto. Nishit Goel is from Ottawa, while Sarup Man is from Victoria, BC. While we have all the senior management, including the president of the university, dean of the school, associate vice president, as well as associate vice president of research innovation, all of them part of our governing council in leading the future between India and Canada in educational corridor. I have a director, as well as I have a program manager, which actually helps out students when they come to Canada. Next. So what is CanadaIndia Acceleration Program? Next. CanadaIndia Acceleration Program has supported over 30 Canadian women founders to expand their businesses in India. This was the concept which we developed way before pandemic. This is about 2015, 2016, and this is what was actually announced by then Minister Navdeep Bain during the visit of Prime Minister Trudeau to India, and it actually had appeared into the joint statement when which Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Trudeau actually had released after his visit. What we have been able to do is to create a competition within Canada as well as within India in inviting female or women entrepreneurship for startups. We've actually, up till now, we've done 31 startups supported in the tech-enabled sectors. We give them 2 weeks of boot camp training to understand what India is all about, what India's business ecosystem is all about, and how can you succeed in India for what the ideas you have. As you note, we've actually generated close to $10 million revenue, and we've had research and development grant, particularly water purification and water safety of close to about 350,000. We've created 75 to now, I know the last figure is about 100 jobs. And now, in the next 2 years, we are anticipating 60 additional Canadian-led women startups will actually go to India. Next slide, please. But this is not only for, these are all the companies, but next slide, please. This is not only for a Canadian component. We actually have a Canada-India bilateral accelerator program. An India component, because of the pandemic, has been less active, has so far supported 2 cohorts initially when they came. As I said, in 2018, 2019, we had 10 students coming from India, and they stayed here in Ottawa for 2 weeks. They were actually they were trained to understand the international market, Canadian ecosystem, Canadian business model, how the Canadian companies actually work here. In cohort 2, we had about 6 students who actually came from India, and all of them have been absolutely enriched by the experience and the training program which they actually received. The notable one, which I've actually put it down, PSU 1925, is an artificial intelligence-based agricultural drone company which now has an accolade across the world, but received the training and to understand the international market right here in Ottawa at the CICE. We now expect, once the pandemic is over, close to 20 to another 40 students to come from India to again learn the ecosystem of the international developments. Next. So what is the professional development programs we are doing? Next. We've had many students, and as Apurvaji actually mentioned, we started out with 75 students, now 200 students in 2019, 140 in 2020, and then 80 students still came to Canada in 2021. But plenty of students. We have close to about 400 or 500 students in pipeline right now, once the immigration and customs sort of opens up post-pandemic, to actually join or at the Canada-India Center of Excellence, which is part of the entire 230,000 students across the countries are coming in, and they're just waiting for government regulation to get lifted so they can actually personally come in and join in. But in meanwhile, next. We've obviously developed into different sort of strategies, and what we have done in giving them professional development. And I've actually put some of those programs which Indian students are quite interested in, Indian companies are quite interested in. And as you can see, data analytics, and as academics will tell you, data is everything. And once you understand the data analytics, you can understand the proper conclusion of what that data represents. So data analytics still remains a most popular courses which students want to take, but the mechatronics, electrical, physiotherapy, business strategy, structural engineering, pharmacy assistant, the courses entrepreneurship, as well as high school students have actually been attending our Canada-India Center programs. In 2020, data analytics was, and that was the pandemic here, so we didn't actually expect any student. But in 2021, as you can see, the project management seems to be coming up as a project management program, nursing, and I'll tell you something about nursing as well, and then MBA student. There are 7 MBA students have registered in the Sprott School of Business at the Carleton University. Next. So what have we done with the nursing? What we did was, and from Guru Nanak College in Punjab, they reached out to us. Nursing also has become very specialized, and they want to understand how the nursing and looking after some of the people post-pandemic would be in a different sort of kettle of fish, and how can we improve their skill sets. And we've been actually able to provide between June and July virtual courses to some of the nursing staff from here to actually understand and explain how we see the medicine and nursing deliverables from our side. And it's been very well received, and we already have close to about 70 students registered for the next cohort of the courses to go. We also have some of the partnership I've mentioned, Praxis Business School from Kolkata, as well as in Sophie, which is based in Hyderabad. We have data science courses ongoing. We also have project management, as well as MBA courses ongoing with Infosys connecting with our Sprott School of Business. Next. Next. So in the policy development, what we've done is we have been actually inviting some very luminaries from India to actually talk about where India stands in terms of the development of various policies. So business on that side, but then people to people, as well as the development of other programs is important to us. The Han lecture is the one which we sponsored. We finished just a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Samantha, who is the Member of Parliament, educationist and innovation leader, who actually spoke about development initiative for indigenous communities in India. It's called Kalinga Institute of Social Science Model, the KISS model, and he described in length. And it was very important discussion point, because we also invited indigenous leader from Canadian communities. We had the professor from Windsor who spoke about indigenous people in Canada and what are their challenges and what are their reflection is now in 2021 going forward, and what can we do to both those communities. So we've had some very holistic conversation at the policy level as well, where both Canada and India can participate and create a better community going forward. Next. And what are the potential areas? And this is the one which I was actually talking to the Canadian High Commission. They've already done a lot of this development, entrepreneurship development in supporting identifying companies which can be added to our sort of database. We can actually have a more professional development, soft introduction to Indian firms for corporate professional development programs here, because they do need an extra training to understand the international market. Support the marketing of our programs to Indian institution via the Canadian High Commission, and they've done remarkable job. As Apurvaji was mentioning, that High Commission here is ready to help out the Indian students. So is the Canadian High Commission, and their counterpart and trade centers are ready to help Indian students as well, Canadian students going to India, as well as Canadian companies going to India to the business as well. And also developing, co-designing and delivering of webinars on topic of mutual interest for Canada and India. I think that's done, Eva. Thank you. So at the end, what I'd like to actually express that in India-Canada Education Council actually has so much synergy in terms of what all of you actually bring on the table. Canada-India Center of Excellence as a founding founder and founding member of the Governing Council, as well as the chair of the Governing Council, it is of keen interest to me to actually develop the platforms and a synergy where we can help each other out in clearly creating a further bonding between the India and Canada, and create a better deliverables than what we've actually done. One of the challenges we've had, and again, this is, I'm going back about 11, 12 years ago, is accreditation of Indian education system. There is so much amount of heterogeneity in terms of the graduates which comes out of India. So there are universities, and there are universities that are so different in terms of their course deliverables. And a lot of university at the higher education level actually faces a considerable challenge in terms of evaluating some of those courses and educational degrees which our Indian counterparts have actually taken. And I've been working very hard with all the accreditation teams and committees across the country, in Ontario, but across the country, in creating a platform where the evaluation process is much more streamlined, and it's possible for them to actually get appropriate evaluation, quick evaluation, so that they can be actually entered into Canadian education system at the right level, and not to actually be brought down to the level which they don't like to happen. So, there is a lot of work ahead, but this is the absolutely right and the right time to actually have a conversation in how can we escalate our activities connecting between Canada and India educational corridor. So thank you very much for giving me opportunity to reflect on what we've done in our journey in Canada-India Acceleration, Canada-India Center of Excellence. Thanks again.